Assalamu alaikum. So this is the very stage that gave me a voice, a pen, and introduced me to a self which I did not know existed. The pygmy that I was, I used to quiver at the thought of reading out from a paper, to someone who has addressed audiences across the globe. So we should never underestimate the power of the institution in shaping and carving our identity. It stitches that pattern into the fabric of our being. And I found multiple beings here in this college. We are a compilation of multiple identities. But each one of us is very different. We react to the environments very differently too. As a 4-year-old even, I understood this. When I went to Attock River, I used to visit Attock River weekly. There I used to collect bedrocks, rocks around the riverbed. And it used to fascinate me that each one of the rocks was different, chiseled differently, sedimented upon, tactile qualities were different. The river was the same. So there were terracotta reds, there were amber yellows, there were mossy greens. That got me to thinking, if you have the same environment, why do we become different individuals? Because we need to find our individuality in there. And I also realized that even siblings are not the same, reared by the same parents. In this analogy, parents are like the river. Reared by the same parents, but time frames, wear and tear, sedimentation, environment affects us differently and makes us those idiosyncratic singular identities, which encompass multiple identities. So these identities of I, when they are separated from the we, they stand out. But how do we connect them to the we back again? And that's where my work comes in, which is literature. Each one of us who has been engaged with literature or art knows that art and literature has the capacity to incorporate the I and also to connect to the we. For that, I have a very cherished philosophy. When I ask anyone, anywhere on stage, how many themes do you think there have been across generations, across genres? Everyone says many, but I say there's only one. And that theme for me is, who am I? This is the one theme which I feel goes across all genres. Who is not relevant for me because I am Syrrina. I don't need to know that I'm Syrrina. I need to know it for you. So it's a social construct. I need to know it for my passport, for my ID card. It's a social construct. However, in this phrase, I, it is placed with the I, and I has multiple selves, and we're constantly in a bid to befriend our multiple selves. I am here, I've befriended my multiple selves to be here as a professor, as an author. But the question mark is the beauty of it. See, it's a process of individuation. This I finds this befriending self is a process that must go on forever. Even a 94-year-old athlete thinks, who am I in this frail body? So the question mark is that quest of life. The moment I put a full stop and I say, I am a professor, I'm nothing else. I'm not a writer, I'm not anyone else. So this quest will take us along. Out of this, and I'll relate it to the literary text, how it is actually the only theme. If you look from Oedipus Rex to Hamlet to Macbeth to Iqbal to Ghalib to Ki Jana Main Kaun, this is the prevalent theme. Out of this theme stems why am I, where am I, and how am I. Where am I is the space that I occupy in this planet. But why am I is the mark that I'm going to leave on this planet. That got me to thinking, what is the mark that I'm going to leave on this planet? My work, Sand in the Castle, collection of short stories, has a footprint on the cover of its book. That footprint is not embedded, it is embossed. So we leave, each one of us leaves that mark on this planet. As I'm speaking to you also, some insignificant mark will be left because of the unfamiliarity that you have with me. So what is that mark that we're going to leave? Even if it's nurturing a small kitten, but there will be a mark that we will leave on this planet. So I then probed further that what is this connection to the earth of my footprint? That is my dialogue with the earth. dialogue with the environment. And I started wondering what dialogism is. Dialogism, let me make you understand also what dialogism is. It's a word or an utterance, and it is said in response to something that has already been said, and it is in anticipation of something that will be said. So it's a dialogue between past, present, and future each time we say a word. It is also bringing the other into our frame of reference. The other's perspective is also extremely important. While I stand here, I don't know what is happening at the back. I will need to know it from you. You will tell me. And all of you who are sitting here for me are stories, and you carry your own burdens of stories, agendas, vantage points, and you will tell me accordingly. Some might find a fly here, some might find the drapes, or some might find this painting. In the same way, I will tell you what is happening behind you, unless and until I incorporate the other's view into my frame of reference. There is no semblance to truth. Multiple truths are the only semblance to truth. That is the only way we could arrive at some whole entity. If we incorporate this other's view, that is how we will be in dialogue with the world. So with it, I further worked on how we tend to forget this dialogue. It's because we have become familiar to so many things. We need to defamiliarize ourselves. The whole picture is not coming here. The spider web, for example, our fabric of identity is like that web. We need to defamiliarize to the minutest of the beings, how the spider webs its trap, and how the meanest flower is the most important thing. Once we do that, we are in dialogue with that flower, that leaf, and then we familiarize ourselves to it. That takes us to a new way of looking at dialogism. Dialogism incorporates language also. What is the language that we seek? Why don't we bring into our frame of references all languages? Yes, we have some dialogic languages, which I feel, again, going back to the idea of dialogism, decolonization is an interesting word because it incorporates within itself colonization as well as de. What it says is that let's move on from this cultural exchange, let's move on from this conflict and see what we gathered from it. I'm speaking English. I teach English. Why? That got me to thinking, and what I arrived at was, it is part of my heritage. Just like Kinnaird College for Women is part of my heritage. Just like Sanskrit, Persian, Arabic, all these languages are part of my heritage. Hence, Urdu, which is the best example for dialogism, is the most dialogic language. English is also, but Urdu was created to be a dialogic language. So our communication becomes dialogic in any way. In this frame of reference, we bring in all the voices. I like to give the podium to all. Right now, you'd say, how? I'm the one speaking, but listening is dialogic too. When we defamiliarize ourselves, seeing leads to looking, hearing leads to listening. And as you listen, you gather something. So this is a dialogic space as well. And what we don't take into account are the silenced voices. Now here, literature again helped me understand that we have to address, which means dialogue, address the issues to redress them. If we keep pushing them back under the carpet or become ostrich, we will never be able to redress them. So my stories tend to address to redress, while including all, giving exclusivity to each and every character. That's the beauty of art and literature. You can do that. You can give the mic to all the characters, even the silenced voices, which I will speak to you. For example, you have Train to Pakistan, and there's a character, Hukam Chand, who climbs up the train and sees the atrocity and tries to open his mouth to scream. His scream doesn't come out. That is a silenced voice too, a very, very important silenced voice. The train that used to hoot and does not anymore is a silenced voice too. The bridge that used to rattle and does not anymore, that is a silenced voice too. So we must bring into our frame of reference these silences as well. One other thing that we have started bringing into our frame of reference is AI. Now, how do we not do that? It's in our palms, the phantom lingering in our palms. Interestingly, just a few weeks ago, I was a writer in residence at a retreat in Ahmedabad. And I was talking in conversation with my tutie, and the tutie said, walk par chale? And as a tutor, I said, kuch padh lete hain. At that moment, my phone spoke to me, not chimed, spoke with a voice. Walk par chale jaएं. I froze. Without a prompt, AI was in conversation with me, was in dialogue with me. Of course, I obeyed. So I realized that all of these voices, now our phones as well, again, have to be included to be able to arrive at those truths. So when we include these voices, how do we move further by giving podium to these? Literature does that, your poetry does that, your characters do that, the train is a prop, nameless characters are props, each and every cow, bullock in the novel is a prop, it is a voice, we must bring it into our frame of reference. That is why I decided to work on dialogism, Bakhtin's dialogism, for my PhD, as well as my academic and non-academic publications. And my first call for my book, Dialogue on Partition, was from University of Delhi. And I thought, dialogue has begun, because it is being taught now in India and USA. The professor there asked me, what you're saying about dialogism, is it like Akbar's Deen-e-Ilahi? And I said, that was synthesis. Dialogism is not synthesis. See, it's like khichdi, potluck. Each grain of rice, each grain of lentil, each cumin seed retains its texture and flavor and adds to the dish. That is what dialogism is. So we must be able to then celebrate these differences, celebrate these diversities, because they're adding to the flavor of our beings. Now, from here, I'd like to see who am I, why am I, where am I? Who are you? So how do I connect with the audience or my readers? That becomes important too. For that, I remember understanding my husband made me understand the other. My husband takes 7 seconds to process that he's being addressed to. My daughter explained to me one day, she said, you know, Baba does not respond to you immediately when you talk to him. He responds immediately when you talk about him. That changed my perspective about dialogue completely. We talk to the audience, we talk to the reader. Let's bring the reader and the audience and make them creators of our stories. Make them tell their story through my story. For example, in As I Ran, I am running with you from boundaries to boundaries, which is the most relatable story for a lot of people, because Sabine runs from one boundary, which is Pakistan, for a better future in Canada. What she forgets is that she is going into another boundary with its terms and conditions too. So all these multiple Sabines and Nadias, they come into my frame of reference. And then they show these dialogic spaces, whether they're Canada, London, or whatever it is. And for me, these dialogic spaces were very important because Dialogue on Partition, Literature Knows No Border is my book, and I have another book called Global Identity, which is again talking about dialogue. These are the 3 images which were relevant to Train to Pakistan, because the mosque and the Gurudwara and the temple were in the same proximity. I presented this in Japan. Learned audience did not know the difference between this, and they said, which was a beautiful lens, that they all looked the same. They are dialogic spaces because they have the same domes and the minarets. These are dialogic spaces. So let's celebrate the diversity amongst them and the dialogism that is amidst them. And for that, I also saw this. I went for my research to Nankana Sahib. There, outside, the inscription on the wall with a tap of water, which is a universal element for anyone to have water. But above it, sacred traditions of reverences were inscribed. That was the beauty of it. Then I also saw the same mosque and Gurudwara in the same proximity. That, again, is a dialogic space. Langar is a dialogic space. So we should, that's why, bring all of this together. And that is what I try with my characters in fiction also, to try and bring the girls who are struggling in Sri Lanka, or the girls who are struggling, or boys, or anyone who is struggling anywhere, to be in dialogue with each other. We will find ourselves with that. And interestingly, my concept of home derived from this dialogue with myself. Because where do I find myself home? My stories are based around home, and I feel home is the most fluid. Manna is another book that is upcoming, and again, I felt that you could relate to not just Suraya, Basharat, but also Manna. Manna migrates in hostile conditions. We are always migrating to find better homes, a better peace of mind. So our home is very, very fluid. It can be a moment, it can be a spot, it could be a feeling. But we must first come to dialogue with our first home. And what is that? That is our body. That is our skin. During my health hazards, I feel alienated in my body. And I try to wonder, how do I connect with this body? And then I got to thinking, let's accept the terms and conditions of this body. And let's move on. Let's find comfort in this diseased or not diseased, healthy or not healthy body. And once I do that, because this is my body, I would never like to have anyone else's diseases thrust upon me. This is my body, the health, everything comes with it. So first, we must be comfortable in our body, be in dialogue with our body. Then you have the layers that are attached to it. In my story, Burqa, the girl decides that she wants to live in a burqa because that's where she felt secure for some reason. So first, we become safe in our skin, then the layers come, or maybe no layers, whatever is required of that. So we try to find these multiple truths in these fiction to be able to connect with each other. And that's why I say fiction is a lie that tells the truth, but I say truth is fiction the moment it is retold. How? Because for truth, for our reporting, for anything that you narrate, I rely on memory, and memory is the most unreliable. There are gaps and ellipses which we are filling with our agendas, with our fiction, to make it coherent. So truth is fiction the moment it is retold. However, we must bring those truths also into our frame of reference and undo all the binaries of black and white, of home and facade, and start to look for that comfort. And I leave you here with the dedication that I left for my children. I left it for my girls as a dedication on Sand in the Castle. It says, "To my girls, may they be at home wherever they are. I wish you all to be at home wherever you are." Thank you.